Today we're diving deep into something that affects literally all of us, procrastination. But this isn't going to be another just make a to-do list or try the Pomodoro technique video. We're going to explore the philosophical and psychological roots of why we procrastinate, and I promise it's not what you think. What if I told you that procrastination isn't actually about time management? What if everything you've been told about productivity and willpower is missing the point entirely? And what if the ancient philosophers figured this out thousands of years ago, but we've been too busy scrolling through social media to notice? The misconception. Let's start with a thought experiment. Imagine you have an important assignment due tomorrow. You sit down at your desk, open your laptop, and suddenly remember you need to organize your Spotify playlists. Sound familiar? The common wisdom says this happens because you lack discipline. You need better habits, better systems, more willpower. But here's the thing. Some of the most disciplined people in history were also notorious procrastinators. Leonardo da Vinci took 16 years to finish the Mona Lisa. Victor Hugo would literally have his servant hide his clothes so he couldn't leave his house and would be forced to write. So, what's really going on here? The philosophical perspective. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." But what does this actually mean in the context of procrastination? The Stoics believed that our actions aren't driven by external events, but by our judgments about those events. When you're procrastinating, you're not actually avoiding the task, you're avoiding your feelings about the task. Think about it. When you procrastinate, you're not making a rational decision. You know the consequences. You know you'll feel worse later. Yet you do it anyway. The 19th century philosopher Søren Kierkegaard called this anxiety in the face of freedom. The more important a task is to us, the more likely we are to procrastinate on it. The hidden truth. Here's where it gets interesting. Modern psychology has caught up to what philosophers have been saying for centuries. Research from Dr. Tim Pychyl at Carleton University shows that procrastination is not a time management problem, it's an emotion management problem. When we procrastinate, we're not avoiding the task. We're avoiding the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of judgment, the fear of our own potential. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle had a term for this, akrasia. It's the state of acting against your better judgment. But he didn't see it as a failure of willpower. He saw it as a disconnect between our rational mind and our emotional mind. The deeper pattern. Let's go even deeper. The French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre talked about something called bad faith, the self-deception where we deny our fundamental freedom and responsibility. When we procrastinate, we're engaging in a form of bad faith. We're pretending we don't have a choice. Think about the last time you procrastinated. Did you tell yourself any of these lies? I work better under pressure. I'll feel more like doing it tomorrow. I need to wait for inspiration. I need to do more research first. These are all forms of self-deception. They're ways we try to escape our freedom to choose. The existential component. Here's where we need to talk about something that most productivity gurus never mention: existential dread. The philosopher Martin Heidegger wrote about how humans are the only beings aware of their own finite time. This awareness can be paralyzing. When you're procrastinating on something important, whether it's starting a business, writing a book, or having a difficult conversation, you're often not just avoiding the task. You're avoiding the reality that your time is limited and your choices matter. The real solution. So, if procrastination isn't about time management, what's the solution? This is where Eastern philosophy offers some fascinating insights. Buddhist philosophy teaches us about non-attachment, not to outcomes, but to our own self-narrative. Most procrastination is tied to our identity and our fears about who we are or who we might become. Here's the counterintuitive truth. The key to overcoming procrastination isn't to try harder. It's to be kinder to yourself. Research by Dr. Kristin Neff shows that self-compassion is more effective than self-criticism in motivating positive change. Practical steps, but not what you think. Now, I'm not going to leave you hanging without any practical advice, but these aren't your typical productivity tips. Instead, try these philosophical approaches. 1. Practice negative visualization. A Stoic technique. Imagine the worst possible outcome. Realize you can handle it. The task becomes less threatening. 2. Use philosophical time tracking. Instead of tracking tasks, track your judgments about time. Notice when you say, "I don't have time," versus, "This isn't a priority." 3. Apply Sartre's radical responsibility. Acknowledge that every moment of procrastination is a choice. Even not choosing is a choice. 4. Practice mindful procrastination. When you feel the urge to procrastinate, don't fight it. Instead, observe it with curiosity. Ask yourself, what am I really avoiding here? The deeper change. But here's the real key, and this is what separates temporary fixes from lasting change. The solution to procrastination isn't about becoming more productive. It's about becoming more authentic. The philosopher Martin Heidegger talked about authentic existence, living in full awareness of our finite time and taking responsibility for our choices. When we procrastinate, we're living what he called an inauthentic existence. Integration. So how do we bring all this together? Here's your philosophical anti-procrastination framework. 1. Acknowledge the emotion behind the procrastination. 2. Practice self-compassion instead of self-criticism. 3. Recognize each moment as a choice. 4. Connect your tasks to your values, not just your goals. 5. Remember that time is finite, but don't let that paralyze you. The next time you find yourself procrastinating, remember, you're not lazy, you're not broken. You're dealing with something that philosophers have grappled with for thousands of years, the complexity of human consciousness and choice. Your procrastination isn't a time management problem. It's an existential challenge. And once you understand that, you can start approaching it with the depth it deserves. If you found this perspective helpful, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments about your own experiences with procrastination. What are you avoiding right now? And what do you think it says about your deeper fears and values? Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to understand why you're not being productive.